everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to continue working on this beautiful portrait, Yasmin, by Mariola Budek. We are on the very last part of it. We are going to color her shawl that is draped across her. And I have gone back and forth with this, and initially I wanted to do it in blue, and I decided that I didn't think blue was going to look good, and then I went with more of a creamy color just because I don't really want it to stand out. Putting the colors together for this was a little bit difficult. I went back and forth, and I'm going to show you my actual process in this video. I'm going to share with you in this video a little tip or trick, I guess, on how you can make sure that your colors that you chose, or what it is you want to do on your coloring page, is going to actually look good once you bring it to your coloring page. And I'm going to do a whole tutorial on that part of it, and we're also going to color this in so you can see this beautiful portrait come to life and come together. And I'm so excited about this portrait. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever colored, and we are going to complete it today. So if you check the description box down below, you will find links down there for my Facebook group. I would love for you to join us over in my Facebook group. We have a community of about 6,000 people now. You will also find links down there for my Etsy store. In my Etsy store, you will find lots of different charts available to you, as well as my color combination and blending workbook, which is a full tutorial workbook that shows you how to put colors together, how to blend the colors together at the transition, and how to create color combinations. And it's got lots of worksheets and examples, and it is very detailed, and it will show you how to start at 3 color blends all the way to 10 color blends, and also includes a whole bunch of color combination charts if you purchase it in the bundle form. You can also sign up for my email list if you wish to do so. Let's go ahead and get into this video and watch beautiful Yasmin come to life. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start coloring her shawl. And I keep saying shawl. I don't know if it's shawl or a blanket or what it is that's draped over her, but anyhow, these are the colors that I'm using. I've got yellow ochre, and I have sand, and then cream. This is going to add that beautiful pop of highlight that I'm looking for in the lightest areas of the grayscale. And then I have chocolate, and of course that is what is going to add the depth and dimension that I need. And then over here to the side, I have goldenrod laying over here, and I don't know if I'm going to use the goldenrod quite yet. We'll see what happens after I get all of the colors laid down. But I'm going to start by taking the cream, and I'm just going to color over the entire thing with the cream. The only reason I'm doing this is because this paper has quite a bit of tooth, and so I'm just applying an initial layer so that my other pencils will just lay down right on top of it. Now, since I started with my highlight color, I'm going to come back with the sand, and I'm going to add a little bit of this in here in the darker areas of the grayscale. And what I'm doing is I'm just layering my colors over one another. And some of these colors are going to be blended together to create a completely different color. And you'll see that as we move forward and we keep laying these colors down onto the page. So I'm just going over all of the areas where I see the grayscale and where it is darker, and I'm adding these colors just only in those areas. And you can see here, if you look at the grayscale very closely, you could see that a lot of this is just lined in these areas. You could see the lines in the grayscale. And so that will be for me to come back with my darkest color and create a little bit of texture. And I'm going to add a little bit of this just right up here at the top, because here where this blanket is meeting her skin and the owl up here and her hair, I want these areas to be a little bit darker. So yeah, I went back and forth with this, and I was not sure what color I wanted to color this, and for the longest time I was thinking blue, and I tried the blue and it just did not look good. I thought it would be a lot prettier if the flowers were just blue, and we just left that blue to the flowers and let them be just on their own. Because if you look at the flowers, if you saw that video, I have a lot of gold in here too, and a little bit of matte brown and everything. And so that is helping to create the balance amongst the entire page. Okay, so I laid down a little bit of that. Now I'm going to come back with my yellow ochre, and as I lay these colors down, it's just starting to fill the tooth of the paper, and I'm going to keep coming back and laying the colors exactly where I want them. And generally I'm just following the grayscale like I always do. And I've showed you that in many of the previous videos while I'm coloring this. I love coloring grayscale. I really, really do. And those of you that are beginner colorists and you are still a little bit, or feel like you're not ready for portraits, these portraits are a great place to start because they look so realistic, and the grayscale pretty much tells you exactly where to lay the colors down. Now, if you're a little bit more advanced, there is also, when you purchase this in Mariola's store, there is also, I think it comes in 3 versions. The darkest, which is what I'm coloring on, which would be the darkest grayscale, which would be what you would use if you're a beginner. And then it has actually, I think, a rainbow one, which was very interesting. I'm not even sure how I would color that if I tried. And then there is one that is very, very light. So if you're more advanced and you want to kind of go off and do like a lot of your own thing, then you would probably want to use the lighter one, but I like using the darker one. Okay, so I laid a lot of that down where I want it. And I think, let me see, I think I'm going to come back with the sand again. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to start pulling some of these colors together. And you could see that it's starting, or we're starting to create a little bit of depth, but at this point it's really just not enough. By the time this shawl or blanket is done, we want all of those areas where we see the folds in the blanket, we want all of those to really look three-dimensional. And we're going to create that just by using our colored pencils. It's amazing sometimes. Sometimes I look at things when I'm creating with my colored pencils and I just watch everything just pop off the page. And sometimes it really just amazes me. And as you come back and you just keep laying the colors, you will notice as you lay more layers, especially on this paper. This paper here is actually the Strathmore colored pencil paper, which is absolutely wonderful. I love this paper, and I just started using it not too long ago. Oh, and look, I grabbed my goldenrod. I said I didn't know if I was going to do it. But I think that this is going to help to create a little bit more depth here where I need it, and over here where I see that there is a little, oh wow, okay, so this is making a huge difference. And see, when I tested this out, I didn't even use the goldenrod, but now I'm seeing that the goldenrod may make a huge difference. And so I'm just going to pull this color in some of these other areas where I see the darker grayscale, create a little bit more depth and really emphasize those folds in the blanket. And then maybe we can add a little bit of that up here too. Now I'm wondering if I need the chocolate. Yeah, initially when I tried this out, I did use the chocolate. I always tell y'all to make sure that the tip of your pencil is very, very sharp. Mine is pretty sharp, but I had issues with this. This is my chocolate pencil. For some reason, the chocolate always seems much more soft than any other colored pencil in my colored pencil set. And sometimes it's really aggravating because I had one chocolate pencil that I pretty much sharpened away to nothing, and I was extremely aggravated. But there's something about this pencil that it is just so much softer, and it is very pigmented. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lay this over these much lighter colors, and I still want to create the effect of this looking like a creamy color. So when I lay this down, I'm going to hold my fingers way back on the pencil, and I'm very lightly just going to make some lines right here. So just right in these areas where this blanket is hitting her skin, I'm just going to hold my pencil to the side and very lightly add some of this color. And I'm holding my pencil at the side because I don't want to create harsh lines, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure behind my pencil, because if I do, I'm going to end up with those thick, harsh lines that I don't want. And then I'm going to have to come back with another color and blend that out and try to get rid of it. And the purpose of this color is not so that it looks brown or like the actual chocolate pencil would actually look. I'm not laying a heavy layer of it down. I'm only using this just to create a little bit of texture. And I'm letting the grayscale be my guide, and I'm laying it right over this other color and blending it in to create a completely other color. So that's all I'm using it for, is just for the extra depth that I want and just to create another color once it is blended with that yellow ochre. My idea for this blanket is I wanted it to be like a golden creamy color. And I just thought that would blend in very, very nicely. But to achieve that, it's just taking me a little bit of extra work because I had to make sure that I swatched everything out, tried to blend some of the colors together, and I believe that that part of the video, I believe I'm going to add that to the second part of the video after y'all watch me color this, so that you could see all of those tips and tricks on how you can make sure something is going to look really good before you lay it down on your coloring page. So now I'm going to have to blend this color out just a little bit. So I'm coming back with my yellow ochre, and I'm going to go over those areas where I laid that chocolate. And so again, I'm just blending these colors together, so you're not actually going to see that chocolate. If you look really closely, you could clearly see that what this is doing is it's just creating an extra bit of dimension. It's going to make it look much more three-dimensional so that it's sort of just popping off the page. Now notice I hadn't come back yet with my highlight color because I really don't need to yet. I'm going to use my highlight color when I've got all this texture down on here and really intensified those folds in the blanket. And then I'm going to come back and we'll be ready for my highlight color to really make the colors come together and pop. Y'all know I always talk about that pop. But right here I could see a whole lot of the chocolate. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just sort of going over this back and forth and I'm blending that out. You see how that just blended that out and it just gave it a bit more of dimension there. You can do so much with your colored pencils. You could blend the colors together. You can put the colors in separate areas. You can create other colors. So if y'all only have like the smaller set of Prismacolors, you can do so much with that. I've actually been thinking about doing a video because y'all know I'm always saying that, you know, you don't need to have 150 pencils. You can color something with just, you know, 36 pencils. I was thinking of doing a video that was sort of like a challenge to show y'all that you don't always need to have a ton of pencils and what you can actually create with a much smaller amount of pencils on an entire coloring page. If you would like to see something like that, please let me know, and I will add it to my list of videos to come. And I would also love to hear what y'all would like me to color next. And I asked in my Facebook group, and I don't know that with the Facebook algorithm if the post really got around to many people, but those of you that are watching this, please let me know what you would like to see me color next. And of course, whatever I color next is going to come with full and complete tutorials. So now you can look at this and you can see that I've created a whole lot of depth and dimension in all the areas where the folds of the blankets are. And I've just brought all of the colors together to create that and make it look a lot more three-dimensional. And I will come back and we're going to continue to just keep adding layers, but we are not just adding the layers, we are blending the colors together at the same time, like I said. And so I'm going to come back and I think I'm going to grab my goldenrod and I'm going to add a little bit more of that in there because I want this top area right here to be much darker just to create that depth right here in the top of the blanket. And I'm turning my pencil as I go across just to make sure I've got a pretty sharp lead. And then I am going to pull that down just a little bit, again using the side of the pencil, and I'm going to blend it out just a little bit with my, what is this, yellow ochre. If you look really closely, you could see that it is just blending that color out and pulling it down just a little bit so that it doesn't look like a harsh line. And those two colors together really create a beautiful, brighter yellowish orange color. It actually tones down a lot of the orange that is in that yellow ochre, but it creates that depth that I'm looking for. So now I am going to add a little bit more chocolate in here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold my pencil at the side, and I am going to make or create even more depth right here just on the top of the blanket. And I'm sort of going in a circular motion because over here it's going to be much darker. You could see that the grayscale is much darker in these areas. And now I'm coming a little bit more on the tip of the pencil just to again intensify the folds in the blanket to create a lot more dimension. And I'm going very, very lightly. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the chocolate right in here. And I'm going to come back to that because I'm going to blend some of the yellow ochre into that space as well so that it doesn't look brown. But I need this brown because this is what is creating the extra depth that I need in this blanket where the folds of the blanket are. But look how this just comes together and just creates all that extra depth right there. And I think maybe I want to do my own thing right here and just create like another little small fold in the blanket. Oh, I love that. Okay, so now I need to come back and again use this circular motion so I could pull those colors down. But yeah, I think the blanket is starting to look sort of like a creamy gold color. And that's what I wanted for it. And notice I still haven't come back with my highlight color. Just wait until I do, and you're gonna see it all just really come together. Now by pulling this color down just a little bit where I have that harsher line there, it's just helping to create a bit of an extra fold right there in the blanket. And if you don't want to follow the grayscale and you're a little more advanced and you want to sort of do your own thing, you could do like I'm doing and just add like some extra folds or some extra texture in the blanket. Okay, so I've got a lot of the color laid down and it's really starting to come together. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and come back with my cream and I'm going to zoom y'all in just a little. Okay, so look at that. So you can see now how I've got all the lines in there and I just really created all of that. I added a little bit of extra lines that weren't there with the grayscale just to give it, you know, my own little twist on things. And I really like how it's coming together. So I'm going to take my cream pencil and now this is where I'm going to go in a circular motion and I'm going to start bringing all of these colors together. And now in some parts of the blanket, like right here, I'm not going to go all the way into that section because again, I want to use the white of the paper like I always show y'all. I want to be able to use the white of the paper to my benefit and create a bit of an extra highlight there on the blanket. So I'm pretty much blending out all of these textured areas that I have created and I'm smoothing them out and I'm burnishing them all together so that they just all come together and look as though they are one. And I'm going in a circular motion as I do this and I'm still holding my my fingers further or up higher on the pencil so that when I do this, I'm still using a little bit of harder pressure, but not too hard because I still want the lead of my pencil to stay a little bit sharp. And to do that so that it's even and consistent on all ends, I'll just keep coming back and turning my pencil, just like you saw me do just a second ago. And so this is just gonna spread all this out, blend it all together, burnish it, and just make it all come together so that it is beautiful, but you still have the lines there showing where the folds of the blanket are. Oh, I love how that looks. So I'm going to come back one more time with my brown. So remember I told you all that the brown pencil was really, really soft. I think that I've just lost some of my brown pencil because I went to go try to sharpen it and the lead just broke off. And to be able to use it to do this, I need a really sharp tip on the top or tip on my pencil. So I'm going to come back here with this chocolate. I'm holding it at the side and I just want to create a little bit more depth and dimension just right in here. Now, do you see what that is doing? Hopefully I'm zoomed in enough so y'all could see the difference that makes. I'm just very lightly going over it just like this, and it will create a lot of added depth even after I've burnished everything together in just the areas where the folds of the blanket are. But look how this just all comes together. So this just goes to show you, when you think that you're done with something, always come back and improve upon it. Like right in here, I think I need a little bit more. And then if I look really closely at the grayscale, there's actually another line going right through it like this. And see, again, in some places I'm using the grayscale as a guide, and in other places I am just doing my own thing and adding a little bit of my own twist onto it. And the more I come back here and add this just to the top of the blanket, it's going to create all that added depth. And then down here, I see a little bit more of the grayscale, so I think I want to add just a little bit more depth down here. And then, of course, to create the other color that I was trying to create so that I don't see brown, I'm going to have to come back over that and sort of just spread it out. And if you just play around with your colored pencils and you really experiment with them, you will find that you can blend together so many different colors, create other colors. Even with your 150 set, you could create colors that are not already in that 150 set just by blending together certain colors. I think it looks a little bit better now. So now I have my sand, and I'm just coming back and I'm adding a little bit more here on top of the cream just to make it look a little bit more dramatic, because the cream just was not dark enough. But you will notice as you start coloring that sometimes you will just change your mind. You'll start coloring something and then you'll lay something else down on the page and you'll be like, oh, well, that looks better. And then you can come back and you can just keep improving upon whatever it is you're doing. But I think I like it now. I love how this has turned out. And I'll show you a close-up here so you could see all that depth and dimension that I was able to create just by putting those colors together, and it looks really, really pretty. I wanted to add this on to the end of the video after I already colored it in and showed you how it all came together. But I wanted to tack this on to the end because I wanted to show you the process in which I go through before I choose my colors and actually lay them down onto my coloring page. So y'all know that I'm always saying to always test your colors out before you ever even lay them down on your coloring page. So you can see here that I went to my little cup here that I've got. These are all the colors that I've been using on this page the whole time I've been coloring it, and I just keep everything separated and out of my regular case where I keep all my pencils, just so that I know what I'm working with. And so I always keep those just like that. And then I pulled a few of the colors out and I just started swatching them here, and I blended a couple colors together. I think that's like maybe the chocolate and the yellow ochre, and I did it a couple times where I blended the colors together to see how they would look if they were actually blended together to create another color, or how lightly I had to come in with the chocolate to be able to not make it look like it was actually brown, but just to create the extra amount of depth that I wanted on my coloring page. So I tried this a few different times. Here you could see that I laid down the yellow ochre or something, and I took the brown and I sort of shaded it and blended it in there a little bit. Then I actually tried out the goldenrod to see how the goldenrod would bring those colors together. What I was doing here is I'm just testing the colors out and trying to create another color by blending the colors together. And I knew that I needed some brown, but I didn't want it to be an overpowering brown. I needed to stay rather light with my brown, and I kept going back and forth whether or not I wanted to use brown or one of the browns that had a little bit of orange in them. And I really wanted it to be a true brown because I wanted it just to create that extra depth and dimension right here in the top part of her shawl or her blanket, and then here in the darkest shadowed areas. But I need a blend of colors that will all come together and create another color, because I don't want this to be straight up brown, because my idea for this was to come up with a color that looked sort of creamy but still had shadows and such and highlights and everything else. And so for me, it took a little bit of practice off camera prior to filming the video and showing y'all what I was going to do. I wanted to be able to show y'all exactly how I do this. So this was, I reprinted it. This is also the wonderful thing about having everything on PDF. I could reprint this as many times as I want to or need to. And I have been testing all of these before I bring them to my coloring page. I printed this out I don't know how many times because I test everything before putting it on my coloring page, not just by swatching the colors out, but also by trying them on the actual page. And that's why I love PDFs so much. But I wanted to show y'all a little trick that you can also do. So I colored this in. It's not finished because it's not all the way burnished in, but it helped me to get my idea down on paper on the actual coloring page to see what I wanted to create, and I'm sure that it will be much better once I lay it down on the actual coloring page, which of course y'all have already seen. I filmed this before because I wanted just to show y'all the process of what I go through when I'm doing this. But if I wanted to, I could actually take this and cut it. It'll help you to get an idea of whether or not the colors are all going to come together and look nice. But I went back and forth so many times with what to color this and how to color it and what colors I should bring to the page. And first I was thinking that I was going to do blue, or a very pale like baby blue, and then I changed my mind because I had already tested that out and it did not look good at all. And I thought it would look really, really great if the flowers just really stood out and they were the only blue on the page, which is much different from what I usually do, because y'all know I'm always talking about, you know, bringing balance to your page and, you know, sort of putting some color here and some color here and some color here, you know, and just making the whole page very balanced. But since there are flowers here and then up right here in the center of the page, I really think that it already looks really good with those just being blue. And I wanted to try something a little bit different this time. So you could just take this and lay it on the page, and look how cool that is. Like, that is going to look really good. I just really wanted this blanket to be like a creamy tone and just really blend in, but I needed to find a way to add in that extra depth and dimension. And so now I can go ahead and I can color it, and I feel confident that it's all going to come together very, very beautifully. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm going to color this in now, but I wanted all this in one video because I wanted to show y'all how you can make sure that everything is going to come together beautifully. I was going to tack this part on to the video where I colored the owl, but I really was not sure about the colors, and this took a lot of time and focus and a lot of thinking to really try to decide how this was going to come together so beautifully. And I don't want this shawl or the blanket or whatever it is that is draped over her, I don't want it to really stand out. I just want it to come together beautifully with the rest of it. And I just wanted it to have that kind of soft, like romantic type feel. And I didn't want it to be really pronounced and stand out. I want to leave that for the flowers. I wanted to be able to show you the difference. So this is the piece that you saw that I actually was practicing on. Now, I didn't even finish this piece because I just was trying to put the colors together to see how it was going to look. And you don't have to finish it, but it's just very important to test your colors out before you put them on your coloring page. Now, if I put these together, you could see that they do look a little bit different. I mean, it's the same idea, but this one is much more finished than this one is. So this one I think even came together much nicer. I really love how I added in like the extra colors. In this one I added in the goldenrod, so it seems a little bit brighter in some areas as far as the color tone goes. And so I really like that I added that in, because when I did this one I did not use the goldenrod at all. But you can see that that can really help you and it makes a huge difference. I mean, here you could probably see it better, but this is much lighter and toned down, and this is the finished product. But it was really important for me to go ahead and test it out first before I brought it to my coloring page, just because I wanted to make sure that it was absolutely perfect before I tried anything. And like I said, I went back and forth with colors and wasn't exactly sure what I wanted for this. So I think that Yasmin turned out beautiful, and I love how everything just really came together. There's still balance on the page, but not too much, and I love how this turned into exactly what I expected. I love how it all just came together without the blanket really standing out too drastically. I really wanted the blanket to just sort of blend in, and had I colored it blue, it wouldn't have blended in. It would have really stood out, and I just wanted this page, and I wanted Yasmin to look really just like a natural beauty, and I think that I've accomplished that. If y'all have any suggestions as to what you'd like me to color next, please let me know in the comments section below, and I will take all of those into consideration. But I hope you all learned something in this video and how to go ahead and test your colors out before you lay them onto your coloring page. I think that this was probably a really helpful lesson, how we just cut out the little piece and we're able to just place it right there, and you could see the difference between my tester and the actual finished product. But it really helps to be able to do that, and so I hope this video was really helpful, and it also shows you how cool it is to be able to have the benefit of a PDF page. If you're interested in coloring this and following the entire color along, I will have the link down below to Mariola's Etsy store if you would like to purchase this beautiful image. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.